All right, we are now alive and people will start being able to hear us now. So this is a multi-project discussion from multiple groups on the HarmonyOne network discussing the current events on HarmonyOne, which are obviously revolving around the exploit which seen $100 million worth of assets ejected.
I'm Dan Baby. I'm kind of like doing some business stuff, some token stuff, and also some marketing for OneVerse. I do all the community speaking. So I'm on the head lab there. So I just help with pretty much everything. But yeah, I'm from OneVerse.
I'm Darth Warpath. I'm from Rave Harmony, Morsel Protocol, and then X. I am specialized at community management, marketing, and moderation.
Hey, I'm Tabasco. I developed the Amity DeFi bot, which is a tip bot that's used throughout the Harmony ecosystem, and I also lead developer relations for ChainStack for Harmony and Solana.
Hey, this is Fizz. I do business development and communications for Relic Quest and DeFi Tower.
I'll go next then. I'm Pumpkin, and there's a couple of our team on the call at the moment. We have Atlas, Deezer, and also the Clitosaurus. We're from Printer Financial, which is a cross-chain bridging project, and Harmony is one of the chains that we're launched on.
I'm Dom. I'm from Evoverses. I'm the team leader for marketing there, and I kind of head all the announcements and lead the AMAs there as well.
Hey, I'm Beaver. I work on Tranquility City, which is a metaverse on Harmony.
Hi guys, I'm Kraft. I happen to be the co-founder of Metatron Marketplace and Moon Robots.
And I'm Badrick. I'm the community manager over at Morsel Protocol.
Hi, I'm Alexander. I'm from the MTOP Swap team, core team, and I lead the treasury.
Hi guys, this is Triggs. I am from Reverse Protocol. I work on treasury management, general project administration, community management, all that kind of stuff.
My name is Flu. I'm relatively new to Harmony as a whole. I was just wondering if they were still accepting grant applications. Is anyone able to tell me about that?
Okay, I'll go after Flu. I'm Rugless. I'm a community helper, mod, an idiot, but I like to be here.
Bourbon here from Harmonyville.
Yeah, I'm E from Relic Quest. I'm the developer and the founder of the project.
Hey, I'm Pioneer. I do biz dev for the core team over at MTomSwap, and I run the Harmony Villains Twitter.
By the way, the Harmony Villains Twitter thing, let me say, I'm looking into that, and I think there's alternate reasons behind those transactions than what was expected.
I don't necessarily think he did it, but he interacts with a wallet that does.
I think that wallet might have been compromised for longer than anyone realizes.
Soft compromise.
I just wanted to point out quickly as well, sorry, before we really kind of get into the meat and veg of it all. We have pulled this together very, very, very quickly, so there's a lot of people here. Some people don't even really know what the hell's going on in general. Don't forget to share this with your projects, tweet it out, get everybody in, and help this so everybody can obviously see what's going on. So yeah, basically, just to add some context, if you're not aware, I'm sure everybody's aware by now. A wallet was compromised, which is still under investigation, which seen $100 million worth of assets stolen, essentially. There is a lot of speculation. There is a lot of things that we can sit here and speculation all day. Bear in mind, it is an ongoing investigation.
Absolutely. Also, just so you guys know, I am trying to get someone from Harmony in, and it's going well. However, remember that whenever they join, they cannot speak about any investigative status on the hack, just so that everyone is aware. So, thanks.
That would be absolutely outstanding if that happens.
When recovery.
Well, I think the best way to start is some projects have already made statements on some of their future plans, what they plan to do moving forward as a result of this, whether they plan to stick with Harmony or potentially even move. Some people have made those discussions in their own Discords and groups and things like that. So I think it's probably best that some of the projects here, that maybe want to speak about what their next move is, have a little bit of a chat about that and talk to their communities whilst they have a platform to do so.
I've been with OneVerse. We kind of assembled last night. We made some announcements. Pretty much our first step was just bridging everything out and securing the funding that we had. And then we started to tackle LPs and securing whatever LPs we could at, somewhat of a relevant, stable price. We took a little bit of an L in the swap on LP, but, we'll just bolster it in the future. But that was kind of our motive, right? Like, it sucks to say because I love Harmony. This is like the chain that I kind of got into. But for OneVerse, it really feels like the tide over there is like maybe Polygon, and trying to move over there and move some things there, or at least until things stabilize on the Harmony end. We're just kind of in a point where we don't want to jump into the volatility out of, respect of like these funds that we have were from people who believed and people who invested. So I know that there's like a torn feeling on like, I see some people tweeting like, if you leave, I'm going to pull my money. I'm on one, and that's fine. Like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But at the end of the day, like, OneVerse as a project decided it was just best to take everything we had and put it somewhere safe and then watch and figure it out. That's kind of where we're at as a project, just making sure that we have the runway to keep everybody engaged who's working. We have a big team, so we have to worry about that. Like, people have bills. And like I said, we're just worried about the community too. So, it's a larger discussion on if OneVerse did have to go somewhere else, where we're going to go, because like I said, it's a community. It would be foolish of me or anybody to say that even 5 or 10 people could accurately represent an entire community. So it's a big discussion, but that's where OneVerse is at. We're open about it. We've been making announcements when we can. Pretty much everybody's been on voice since the bridge was hacked. We took we went to bed last night for a few hours, but I slept like 4 hours, and then I woke up to another huge team meeting with everybody discussing, what's the plan. But I think, that's where we're at, is just the money's safe, the treasury's safe, everything that we have is safe. And now it's just, what's going to happen? Is there a resolution? And how do we just talk to the community and figure out what they think too?
Does anybody else want to speak for their project and their community?
Before we do projects, let's just address the situation to people listening, because I know people are panicked.
Yeah, I'll give like an Eli 5 on it. So essentially, and I spoke about this, I did a whole speech on this, everyone, like before we were live. And I think everyone that was here can agree. It was a great speech. It was wonderful. And it meant absolutely nothing because I thought that we were already live. So
it's going to be impossible to make a better one. But you can try.
You could actually hear dramatic music behind it as he was speaking. It was a brilliant speech.
It was a brilliant speech.
I teared to it. I teared a little bit.
It's lost forever. However, I just wanted to point out, anytime you have non-native assets, anytime, you're always depending on the bridges to whatever network it is, to maintain those assets. Always. Bridges are always a weak point for every ecosystem. So if you put DAI somewhere where DAI is not natively issued, it is going to be a weak point for that system if the bridge is hacked. And then the DAI on chain would not be worth anything, right? And that's the case of all native assets, all of them. That's the risk of non-native assets. That's why it's a problem, and that's why it's always the bridge hack, right? But I would say that the way this was handled by Harmony, and for full disclosure, remember, I am paid by Harmony, although maybe not after this space. I will not be paid by Harmony, which is fine, but I do not agree with the way that it was seemingly handled, and I have to be very careful with a lot of what I'm saying here. But the 2 of 4 multisig. We ask projects to set up 5 of 9 multisigs, and then we have a 2 of 4 multisig on hot wallets apparently that are backing up $100 million worth of value on the most important multisig in the entire ecosystem. It's very concerning to me, and it reflects a lack of attention to these details. For those of you that are not aware, I was recently made a full member of the Byte Masons, which is the largest development group on Phantom, and it is security focused. We have like 20 security engineers specifically. Even myself, and I'll go ahead and say this publicly, I normally try to keep it to smaller audiences. Up until the time that I went Web3 specific and full-time, what I did was I actually worked for McKesson, which was it's like the largest pharmaceutical distributor in the world. And specifically, I worked with like the DEA digital certificates and fraud concerning narcotics, like class 2 narcotics, opiates and whatnot, benzodiazepines. And like, I've had a security mindset for a long time. I've always competed in like hackathons and everything. I've done a lot of work into like social engineering and whatnot. And it's really concerning to see that massive amount of risk not properly accounted for. And it's something that worries me whenever I look at, like, is my investment safe? Is my career safe? I'm trying to help build this protocol, Harmony protocol, as a contributor, as a contractor. And meanwhile, like, I don't feel like everyone else has the same focus. I don't feel like the focus is on the security where it needs to be. I feel like the focus is elsewhere, and on these like pie in the sky ideals and campaigns. And I've been relatively public about that, and so I worry. I worry a lot for it, and I just want to say this risk exists everywhere. There's going to be an article coming out. I've been notified there's going to be an article coming out from someone who was starting a new project, and they had their treasury in a bunch of different stables, because I had warned them a long time ago about this sort of like bridging risk, a non-native asset risk. And I really hope that moving forward, we can all kind of take this idea of like, these funds are not safe if they are not native, and we can like build off of that. Just like, not just the project leads in here, which love every project lead in here, but like everybody. Also, Orchestra, I have no idea if they're hot wallets or not. I'm saying that they seem like hot wallets if they were able to get hacked.
Yeah, that's what I read too. Another report.
Luna and UST was native, but Luna and UST were flawed algorithmically from the go. And I was a big fan of Luna and UST, so like I got scammed as well. I lost like 80-90% of my port on Luna UST. So I was actually really arrogant about that, and like someone asked me like, "Oh, where are you putting all your DFK paychecks?" And I was like, "Oh, into Luna." It's a bear resistant asset. It just prints stablecoins, bro. Like, how can you get better than a whole banking chain that's centered around a stablecoin? Decentralized finance needs decentralized money, dude. I not only drank Kool-Aid. God. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. But yeah, I just say that like we need to be aware of like the non-native risk, and just really pay attention to that going forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Flu. Brilliant speech again. You should be a public speaker. You're very good at it.
It's almost like I get paid for this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's interesting.
Well, not this part specifically, but like in general, business development. That's all it is, right? Is speaking a good game until VCs and partners and everything do whatever you want. So yeah, no.
But no, more to the point, you made some very, very good points there. And, one of the things that I noticed, which is a bit irritating to me, is the fact that this exploit was actually found, I believe, April 1st. So there has been multiple failures that could have been seen coming.
I think we have a Harmony team member with us.
Do we?
Hi. Yeah, hi everyone. This is Sam Harrison from the Harmony team. How are you all today?
Hey, Sam.
Down bad, sir. I'm real down
bad. Yeah, you and me both, Flu. You and me both.
Hey, Sam. Sam, you're my mentor and my boss. Am I coming to work tomorrow? Like, is that a thing?
Well,
it's Saturday tomorrow.
Yeah, well, so somebody beat me to it. I was going to say, as your mentor and boss, I encourage you to take your weekends off, Lou.
I work on weekends, bro. I don't know. All right. Anyway,
most people in the crypto space do.
Well, welcome to the Discord chat, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people here that potentially have some difficult questions and a lot of things to talk about. So, where do you want to start with, Sam? What's your take? What do you want to tell the people?
So I want to start off by saying I'm here because I wanted to make sure that our community and the public know that we're listening, and we want to share what information we have when we have it. I, however, am not part of the war room team. I'm not part of the engineering team that are actively hunting down the various different pieces of evidence about how this happened and when it happened. So I can answer some questions. I'm not going to be able to answer all questions. We want to make sure that our responses, to make sure they're as clean and consistent as possible, they're all going through Daniel, who is doing a phenomenal job, absolutely phenomenal job. But I want to make sure that I don't speak out of turn. So there may be some situations where you ask me a tough question, which I think is a valid thing to do. Please ask me the tough questions that you guys think need to be answered. I may not be able to answer them just because A, I may not have the information, or B, that should really come from the one voice of Harmony, which is Daniel right now.
So I don't want to make things too difficult for you, but literally before I knew you were on this call, I did mention that the exploit was known and published by a chap called ApeDev on April 1st. Do you have any comments to that?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have any comments. If that turns out to be the fact, that really disheartens me, because that should not be the case. The other thing.
Can I address that actually real quick, Sam?
Sure.
Because that's actually a slight misunderstanding. So it was not a known issue. Like, it was not the fact that the exploit itself was known. It's not like someone published a 0 day and was like, "Hey guys, watch out for this." Or even identified a vulnerability. None was identified. It was a guy who was literally, as
just a tweet.
Yeah, it was literally just a tweet that was like, "Hey, you guys are backing this up with a 204 multisig or 205 multisig, and this is a non-standard multisig. It's got some sort of changes to it, and it's got it's something's different about it, and it's not audited. Is there an audit on this? Like, what's the deal? Let's get some attention on this." And there was no attention given. I mean, unfortunately, I did not see this tweet. Otherwise, I would have blown.
You would have blown it up. Yeah, and that's exactly why I want you as part. That's exactly why I wanted you to make sure that you were part of the team, right? To have this access to be able to blow stuff up like this when it comes to light and people see it. Now, the thing that Flu said earlier that I also agree with is that for all of our grantees and for all of the DAOs that we set up and for all of the times in which we distributed part of our treasury, we were asking them to set up 5 out of 9 multisigs. And to have the bridge be a 2, I don't understand that. That kind of boggles my mind a little, because I had specific conversations with Steven, not about multisig security, but I had specific conversations with him about how having 9 people as kind of the 9 governors of a DAO would create a significant amount of coordination trouble. because that is a little bit too big for a Tiger team. It's a little bit too many people. And he said, no, we need to have 9 for security reasons. So he's aware of the fact that the 5 out of 9 gives an added level of security. And so I'm just a little surprised at this oversight. A little surprised. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible.
Well, I'm glad I was corrected on that, because obviously I've taken a narrative that was put out there, and I've gone with it myself there. So I stand corrected. It's not as black and white as what I said. So yeah, thanks for that. Does anybody else want to ask any questions here? Do we have any questions in the Twitch chat as well that we want to ask? Come on, guys. There's a lot of people here. There must be something.
See, I show up and no one wants to say anything.
Just point to someone.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to talk about what our plan is a little bit as a project here. And it's good to hear some members of the Harmony team here explaining what's going on. We want to wait to see what happens and hope that more information comes out and potentially the money is recovered. But as a project, we still want to deploy here. And if the chain's staying open, that's our plan. I mean, we don't want our users to pay gas fees. And if the chain's staying open, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and that encourages me. And this is the thing that the reason why I'm part of Harmony, the reason why I'm here is because I think the technology in general is really sound. Like the super ledger technology that it's based in is brilliant, and it's one of the best in the ecosystem in the game. And so the things that I'm watching for very carefully, the pieces that I'm seeing is just, I want to make sure it's also being managed well, right? And that's the thing that I'm focused on, is doing what I can to make sure that the management of the treasury, of the assets is being done at least competently. I mean, that's my biggest request.
I have a question, Sam. Legoat here.
Hey, Legoat.
Sam, so moving forward, what is the plan for Harmony to really do more due diligence on managing the treasury in terms of how they're going to use those funds to actually support good projects on chain? Because I think one of the issues was that, all of the funds were going to a lot of different projects, and it was very difficult to determine which ones were actually building, which people had credible founders that actually had histories, not just in Web3, but other spaces. And I think that Harmony had a hard time figuring out who there was. And I think there was kind of a lack of a dialogue. And I think there was a lack of communication and direct communication for, let's say, somebody of Flu's realm, where he was hired to kind of hear the ecosystem and let people know. And I think that he wasn't able to be heard when he was voicing himself. And I think, what are you as Harmony doing to open and change the lines of communication so that there can actually be due diligence to find the right projects, to fund them correctly, and to help and support them grow? Because that's really what's going to bring Harmony back, is to have actually cool, fun projects, gaming projects that people want to play on Harmony.
I 100% agree with you. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not worried about Flu losing his job, is because, and I'm going to say this publicly, and Flu, you're going to be able to quote me on this, and this may come back to bite me in the butt, but I will lose my job before we fire Flu. Like, I will stand in front of Flu for that. Because...
did y'all hear that, everybody? Can we sort of GoFundMe for his rent? Everyone?
Because the thing is that's the reason why I brought him on. Now, initially, we had a little bit of confusion. I'm actually going through a very stressful and crazy personal time right now in my personal life, which is disheartening. And so Flu's onboarding was on me, and I did not do a good enough job with that. But I think I've positioned you well enough, Flu, that you have access to as many people as you need, and people are listening to you internally at the team now. Is that accurate?
Yes, and I've been able to get attention for a lot of the people in this chat, honestly, whenever they've needed something in a really efficient manner. So I thank you guys for that. Now, if only you could do as good of a job on setting up multi-sigs, we'd be fucking gold.
So that's part one, right? How do we make sure we're doing the due diligence? How do we make sure that we are picking the right projects to support? And that actually comes from the community mind. But I want to make sure that we're very, very clear about there will be times in which, in meeting the team and in meeting a project, that an individual who is empowered to offer a grant or empowered to do an investment will do that without necessarily consulting anybody else. That was actually a problem that we ran into back at East Denver and also at East Rio, was there is an initiative to scale the kind of grant-giving investment mechanisms that then didn't have enough kind of guide rails put around it. And it was really frustrating. And that's why actually... Yeah,
all right.
Pop in.
I just want to, because I like that response, and I definitely think that's definitely one thing that for sure could help this process. But I just want to speak a little bit also about just kind of a personal experience I've had as a grantee, is that I've spoken now to probably like 5 to 7 different Harmony members about the project. And every single time, it's the same, like, so tell me about yourself. So tell me about the project. So it's like starting from square one, when I really feel like it's a lot on Harmony to read the proposals before you have meetings with us and read the updates that we've been doing and talk amongst yourselves and brief each other when you meet with a team about what's cool about it, so that the next time we meet, we can actually move forward.
Yep. I actually agree with that. It's one of the things that we were doing a little bit of restructuring. We were doing a little bit of, as you guys all know, we are trying to focus very, very closely over the next 3 months, very specifically into adoption and projects along those lines. And in that purpose, we've created very specific guilds of 5 to 6 people. Those guilds should be having weekly stand-ups where they talk about all of the projects in their pipeline. This is what I'm doing with what we call our game guild. So every Monday I meet with them and we have a pipeline, and Flu knows this. He populated 60% of our pipeline of potential projects. And that's what it's about. Like, we will be having regular conversations that say, okay, what is this guy? What are they doing? What is their background? What stage are they at? What do they need to complete? What is their launch date? How can we coordinate the go-to-market plan? The problem has been, historically, that there has not been that sort of structure that has been in place. Now, I personally did that when I was helping out with the DAOs, and I know when I say the word DAO, somebody's going to find my apartment and just sniper me, headshot from 1,000 miles away, because there were some significant fatal flaws with the DAO program. And there were a handful of projects that got funded that called themselves a DAO that did not come through the DAO operations team. But the DAO operations team had a meeting every week, and I had one-on-ones with every single member throughout the week on DAO tooling, DAO funding, DAO onboarding, and all those things. And so everybody knew what the other DAOs were doing. So what I'm trying to do is professionalize this a little bit more robustly. The thing is we are an incredibly small team as far as the kind of the core team members that need to approve a lot of this work. And there are people that are divided in multiple different camps that sometimes it's hard to get them to stand up. So my goal, what I want to see, is to really have them just centralize. I don't want to put it, but I want one team to handle it, like one team to handle the grants and one team to handle the games and one team to handle the NFTs. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be everybody trying to run everything, because then you get a situation where no one knows what the right hand is doing.
Sam, there's a couple of really good questions in the chat, Andy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was literally about to interject there. So,
well, then, Andy, you go for it, bro.
So thanks very much for talking about that. But the emergency at hand right now, there's a lot of people that are currently trying to scramble for the exits as it's being put. Projects and users alone, in general are potentially looking for a way out and really struggling with what's happening. Obviously, you can't talk or speculate right now on current investigations and things like that. I respect that. But moving forward, can you talk on what Harmony is going to do to set these people's minds at ease? And is there a plan moving forward to maybe help protect some of these projects and help them not sink because of this?
That's an excellent question. So we are so right now the main investigation here is focused on the bridge and on the hack, and on finding the alleged perpetrator and getting in contact with him or her, and seeing what we can do to potentially recover funds, and also, of course, block the flaw that happened. So that's, of course, step number one is plugging that particular hole. As far as supporting the project, of course, we want to do everything we can to support them. And I may put Flu on the spot here, because this is part of what I love about him, is he's always happy to help. I would like to have a conversation about what we can do to help support these projects. Let's pitch it in the idea of, okay, I get that, all these projects would love to just have money, but is there a way that we can support these projects without falling back on, opening up the checkbook again? Checkbook. I'm old, I know.
I understand that not all of it is going to come down to financial support. Of course, it's unreasonable to, expect that overall. But I am aware of some projects. I can't speak for all, of course. I can't speak for any because I'm not a leader of any of these projects. But from the conversations I have had with some of the people that I do talk to, some of those grants were obviously revoked days before the hack actually happened. And as a result, those guys were kind of hoping for those to help them continue to develop and keep going. And now this hack has happened as well. There's even more uncertainty and things like that. It's going to make things extraordinarily difficult for some of these guys. So I know this is a very difficult question to answer. It's not really a question, it's more of a statement. But, what do you have really to kind of say to that?
Yeah, so we paused the grant applications, and then, of course, we paused the grant payouts. We have issued the new statement on what needs to happen for new grant payouts, so you guys can take a look at that. It's on the talk forum. And so there are projects that are going to be okay, right? There are projects that are still going to receive their grant funds based on the new parameters. I can't speak to every single project, and I can't even speak to some of the ones that I'm running on point because I'm still having the conversations. Like, I'm trying to have the conversations, 3 or 4 conversations every day with all of these projects to figure out where we can push these projects forward. Some of the really easy stuff to do is we want to do a bunch of co-marketing. We want to do a bunch of introductions. We want to help and drive a whole bunch of adoption as much as we possibly can. And those are the easy ones, right? Those are the low-hanging fruits.
Of course, and I think one of the key parts. Some other people have got some questions here that I'm aware of, and I will open the floor to them in just a second. But obviously, some people here, because of the bear market, like Rob's Dungeon DJ just said in the chat as well, a lot of people swapped to USDC. So a lot of people were in stable coins because of the bear market, and as a result, obvious occurrences have happened. So. It's really, really, really difficult. And, one of the questions in Twitch, which is kind of related to that from Biro, is basically, is there going to be a plan moving forward if those funds are unrecoverable? Now, obviously, we don't want to speculate. We don't know what the future is going to hold just now, pending investigation, of course. But is there a plan in place, or at least being spoken about, how this is going to, move on and grow from this point? Because obviously, we're not talking about spare change here. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of money. It's not spare change. And so I don't have a firm plan in hand, but I know it's something that's being discussed. And so I can't really answer that in one way or the other, except for the fact that we know we need a plan, obviously. Well, I guess it's not so self-evident, but we know we need a plan. We have not settled on one yet.
And again, sorry for putting you on the spot with that. I know you don't have all of the answers, but obviously people listening want these answers, you know. So the next question we have, somebody asked for a question. Where is he? I think it was Dirty Cajun Rice. You would like to ask a question. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, so
oh shit,
we can talk about future plans all day. We can talk about helping people in ways other than finance, but consoling someone who can't pay their rent doesn't pay their rent. Without the backing of ETH, it doesn't matter if it's USDC or BUSD or any other bridge stable coin. They're not stable right now. Period. None of them are. So the entire ecosystem is in collapse. If you do not recover the funds, how is there any possibility of recompense for the existing users? And without that recompense, if it's not possible, how do you expect the chain to survive or anyone to stay or continue faith?
The only thing I know is that I don't know, to be honest.
Okay,
we are
so
all in the same
I will
situation.
tell you.
Go ahead, Flo. Thank you.
I will tell you because I can't speak from where he's speaking from because I'm not in those circles, but he is also not in the war room, so he doesn't see this part. That being said, what you have to do in this case is you have to reback the assets that are on chain, with like the ETH, the USDC, the DAI, everything. And what needs to happen is a capital infusion for that to happen. There's a lot of places to get that from. And Aoni, you would not be expected to have a plan at this point. At this point, it's like a legal area. You can't just be like, oh yeah, we have a plan, it's this. And yeah, blah, blah, blah. You just can't rush this shit. Anyway, there's a lot of questions that are not possible to answer, as Crypto Lamb says. We're like less than a day in. That being said, we can repeg those assets instantly. We just need the capital infusion. There's a lot of places to get that from, and I'm just speculating here, but I would say that an infusion of capital from a VC, angel fund, investor, whatever, in exchange for like a piece of like their investments in the future in GameFi projects or a piece in whatever. That is how I personally would probably go about raising funds in order to do that. But obviously, I cannot speak for Harmony Brass.
Right, so, and that's what I'm just. And that's the dance that I'm trying to do is give enough of a answer that you know that we're talking about it, but I cannot. I cannot speak to specifics because I don't know the specifics, and because right now it's still about running the investigation and doing everything we can.
Of course, and for everybody, you know, here as well. Sorry, Cajun, I'll give you the floor in just a second. The point is that the answers are going to be very limited. I know we've already said this before. Try not to hammer Sam too hard. Bear in mind it is an ongoing investigation, and we're less than a day in. We don't have all of the details. We don't have all of the answers, but obviously we can discuss what we can. But there's absolutely no sense in speculating. But in a sense, what I get from that moving forward is that if the money is unrecoverable, you know, Harmony will potentially be looking at VCs and funding to help the chain and projects continue. Is that accurate?
We're looking at all options right now, right? Because it's not just we're making sure that the bridge itself is recoverable. We can see if we can recover the assets. We're also looking at the variety of different ways in which Harmony is going to expand going forward, and how we are going to have it be a very, very successful chain through the bear market. And so that's not, it's 100%. You're right. We are looking at all the various different options to make sure it works.
And another quick question here as well, that somebody just asked, what are the, obviously you can't speak on specifics, but does it look rather good right now in terms of where things are going in terms of recovering those funds, or is it, in your opinion, if you can speak on your opinion, a lost cause?
To speak on my opinion, this is what I've seen in the past, that you end up having people who are, for lack of a better term, a white hat hacker, that come in and make say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and hack your thing and I'm going to steal your money. I'll give it back if you give me 10% as a large bug bounty. I've seen that happen multiple times. That's kind of what I hope for. I don't know enough about what the war room and the engineers and security experts have found to see whether or not that is an option.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to get you to leak information. That's just my being bad. I thought I would try doing it in such a way that I wouldn't be noticed, but you're too quick for me. You're too quick for me. Kajun, did you want to continue speaking? I think I spoke over you earlier.
That's okay. Just more of a statement that I believe encompasses a large majority of us. You can only speak on what you're allowed to speak on. And if we're being generous, we can assume that projects only pay out once a month. Some of them are more than that. But being generous, the end of the month is in 7 days. So if there was a timeline, it would be when people had to pay their bills.
That's actually a great comment. And I am going to continue to put pressure on them to get an answer specifically for these projects very quickly. I am going to ask Flu to kind of run point. So if people are really hurting, please get in contact with Flu to make sure that we highlight the ones that have passed their milestones, that are acceptable, so that we can prioritize those appropriately. Because the thing I love about Flu, and the reason why I will stand in front of him, is that he is very well connected into the community, and he understands everybody exceptionally well about, hey, this is a good project with good people. This is a horrible project with good people. These are good people with a horrible project. He really understands that.
Thanks very much for that, Sam.
No comment on which one you are, Kajun.
So, can I counterpoint some of this talk about people hurting and having their life savings and things like that? I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate. Most of us are in the outlier of speculative assets into a technology that is being tested fundamentally right now. So guilt tripping a whole protocol, the team that's running a protocol, by saying they have to pay their bills at the end of the month, is a little bit cheesy, in my opinion. If you have your checkings balance into the blockchain at this space in time, I don't think you have risk management in your mind at all. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
So a chain that's solely sales pitching, that it is here for financial backing and decentralized transactions to hold your funds in whatever capacity anonymously, having your funds stolen is a guilt trip and not just a fact. You would say that if
remember
Bank,
the chain isn't saying that. A fellow project leader is saying that.
I'm saying that. I'm saying that. Yeah.
If Chase Bank lost your funds because they've been around longer, would you say don't guilt trip him? They're just a bank.
You have a great point there, but it is not the same. You are living you are operating in an unregulated space, and that doesn't mean that anything goes. Of course, it's not Wild West, and we don't want it to be. But I don't think this should be the way of saying that people must be compensated something of that incident.
Kennedy Carroll.
That's all I'm gonna say on it. That is not the way to go about it.
Yeah, I would just say for that example, in the U.S. we have the FDIC, so our money is backed by the U.S. Treasury.
Well, that's an insurance product.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to have a bank charter to have.
Well, exactly, but that's part of regulation.
Yeah, and that's part of regulation. It's part of centralization. But let me very clearly state this: I also have rent to pay, and I'm also worried about my own personal rent to pay. I recently had to move out of my home, and I'm in a tiny little apartment now, and so I'm in the same bucket. But the thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows is we're working hard to do the best we possibly can. We're working hard to do the best we possibly can. And we think that this, in general, there's going to be bumps and bruises and cut off arms and pain across the board. But I really, my heart goes out, and I hope we can figure out the best way forward. Like, I'm very empathetic. And yes, Lanu, I am on the Harmony team, but there are details and details and details.
So also, one huge thing to point out on this is that, like, we cannot forget that the fiat system is the fiat system. We talk about deposits in banks being backed by the FDIC, right? What is the FDIC backed by? Is the government promise. So, okay, what is the government promise backed by? It's backed by the fucking military. Get real. We all know the state of the union in the case of, like, the national debt and everything, and the debts of other countries, and the way that all of those things intermingle and intertwine to create our global banking system, right? Like, all of these are promises built on promises built on promises. All that currency is a promissory note at this point. Like, we can't be like, oh, well, what about banks? Banks are fucked too. Everything's fucked. It's just we're trying to create a system that is less fucked than the one that came before it. And, like, that's really what it's about, right? Is that we're trying to actually build something that's better. We've got the trustless Ethereum bridge coming up that it's one of those things that's like, this fixes that. And it really does. It really does. The trustless Ethereum bridge fixes this. The trustless Bitcoin bridge fixes this. And I don't know. I don't want to go off on a tangent about this. I'm just saying, don't act like the banks are the fucking paragon of virtue, because they're not.
At the end of the day,
for sure.
At the end of the day, the reason that we're all here in the first place is because something, very disturbing has happened to the chain that everybody here is building their projects on. Everybody's got developers to pay, team members to pay, as well as themselves, keep their heads above ground. Sam, obviously, being part of the Harmony team, spoke about how he's had to downsize recently. Everybody is feeling the pinch, including myself. I can't get my Lamborghini valeted as much anymore, unfortunately. But the point is, I don't have a Lamborghini. But the point.
Well, I was just thinking, why are you driving a Lamborghini with gas at nearly like $9 a gallon these days?
Indeed.
But anyway, neither here nor there.
The point is everybody here is a little bit disillusioned with the team, and understandably so, because of things realistically that could have. Again, this is speculation, but in my opinion, could have been prevented. Based on what I've seen so far. Now, obviously, again, pending investigation, but it does feel like a lot more could have been done to negate this. But again, at this point, no point pointing fingers. At the end of the day, does anybody else want to speak to this? It is interesting, realistically. I think it is good to hear other people's opinions. Let's keep it nice as possible, obviously. But I think everybody needs to know and hear a little bit of reassurance from the teams as well. So whilst everybody is feeling the pinch, whilst everybody else is going to find it very difficult, some people are going to be salty, and it's understandable. But I think what a lot of people want to know right now is what direction people are planning to take. Are some people sticking with Harmony and going to continue backing Harmony, or do other projects want to take a different route? If so, I think it's a good time to let people know what your plans are. Who wants to take the lead on that?
Guys, I think I was thinking about this as you were all speaking about it. I think if everybody just goes out, like if everybody just leaves, what's left? You have an empty chain. I think it's not even everybody. If half of the projects on Harmony just leave, I don't think that's a solution. That's just, so you leave, okay, and you start over from maybe not scratch, but you know what I mean. I think we have something here, and I think at the very least we should try to stick with it as long as, of course, just like the other person said, your funds are safe and you don't have to worry about a roof over your head. I think we should stick around and see what happens.
So I have a really interesting, at least I think it's fucking interesting. I have an interesting view on this. It is way more difficult than you think to move chains. And like Granary was built on Phantom first, and we still have like a bunch, hundreds more times TVL on like Phantom than we do on anything else. Avalanche, Optimism. Dude, whenever I came to Harmony, I had been like saying to my devs for weeks, I was like, "Oh, guys, don't worry. Whenever we go to Harmony, everybody knows me. It'll be easy. It'll be easy. We're gonna get usage. People are gonna go there because they love me, or two of them love me. You know, like I'm gonna get this TVL. We're good." And then we came in with 9.7 million on Phantom, and at the time of the hack, we paused pools, and there was $60,000 in Harmony. It is incredibly hard to shift your audience to a new chain. And like DFK is a good example of that. DFK had adoption from those Avalanche maxis before they moved. Like they were already in that group. We had big ETH people in the group and messing around with Harmony. If people see cool stuff, they're going to go where that cool stuff is. It's not like they're going to just ignore it because they're on a chain that they don't like or whatever. If it's a good experience, it's a good experience. And we need to remember that whenever we're looking at the risk analysis of moving off chain. That being said, I'm the last person to say that cross chain is not the fucking future. Goodbye.
So I completely agree with what you're saying there, Flu, and I know I'm supposed to be moderating the conversation rather than taking a lead on it, but I feel that it needs to be said that whilst a lot of people here are not looking at it as, you know, potentially seeing the grass greener on the other side, I don't think it's a case of that. I think it really is more of a case of, you know, there being trust between the developers of different projects and the harmonyone team. So it's a case of, can we continue to trust the harmonyone team? And again, I'm not trying to cast aspersions or start a riot here, but my point is that is what is on everybody's minds. Should they continue to develop and support the network? And, you know, do people have opinions on that? You know, are they going to be sticking with the Harmony network? Because at the end of the day, I do agree with you in the sense that it's going to be extraordinarily difficult and potentially more expensive to switch chains. So the reason isn't financial. The reason is due primarily to trust. So at the end of the day, does anybody here have an opinion on that? You know, where do you want to take your project moving forward? Are you sticking with Harmony? Reassure the people that are listening. Let everybody know what you plan to do.
Yeah,
so a lot of projects.
Oh, sorry.
No, you can speak.
I was going to say that we are a cross-chain protocol. So we're on 8 other chains in addition to Harmony. And bridging is kind of our connection between all of them. We have a very fast mint and burn bridge.
Can you just remind everybody who you are again? Sorry.
Yeah, this is Printer Financial. We launched first on Phantom, and I think Harmony was our 6th chain that we launched on. And I think for us, we always kind of knew that not all of the chains would necessarily be in the same condition as when we first launched on them. Some would, you know, go to the moon, and some wouldn't do so well. And that was kind of built into how the ecosystem functions, in the sense that we have a lot of arbitrage between chains. So if one dumps, the other chains can kind of bring it up. And equally, if one chain moons, the other chains all kind of get to enjoy in that price pump. So for us, it almost doesn't make that much of a difference. And I think in some ways it's kind of a proof of concept that our bridge and our technology still works, even if there are problems on a chain. People can use our bridge if they want to move in and out of Harmony. We can offer it to other protocols as well if people are looking for their own kind of bespoke bridge. So for us, I think this is, it's kind of shocking, and I feel really sad for everyone who's kind of screwed and is wondering what they should do. But for our particular protocol, I think we were kind of built to withstand this by not having all of our eggs in one basket and creating a truly cross-chain ecosystem that can kind of support and hold itself up if one chain, kind of stumbles. So that's where we would be with this.
And I completely agree with that. And I believe Mars Colony have taken a similar approach, branching out to Polygon. Before we continue that, I just wanted to point out as well, Bloomberg TV have just tweeted, Justina Lee is doing a report on the hack as we speak on Bloomberg TV. Sorry, if you want to carry on there, guys.
Okay, my input on this, don't get scared when all the project teams are moving their funds off-chain. They're just getting it safe so they can reinvest when the market stabilizes.
Right.
So, brilliant reply there by Pumpkin from Printer Finance about existing on multiple chains because of the possibility of other chains not doing so well, which is indeed a very good tactic, but obviously not something everybody has the luxury of doing. So for those who have developed first and primarily and only on the Harmony network, can anybody speak to what your plan is for the future moving forward, whether funds are recovered or not?
Hey, this is Fizz from DeFi Tower, and as of now, we plan to move forward in July sometime, just like we had discussed. The plan is that nothing has changed.
So nothing's changed. You are continuing. So DeFi Tower is continuing to develop on the Harmony network and will continue to strive on, which is great news. Moon Robots, Craft, you're here. Somebody asked me to call you a nerd earlier on, so Craft, you're a nerd. Do you have anything to say? What's Moon Robots' stance on all of this?
Yeah, somebody also asked me to shill the Moon Robot, so I have to agree with that too. Thank you for your time, and thank you for organizing this roundtable. Brilliant initiative, and good to see so many people joining, and almost 200 people watching. And Bloomberg is talking about that at the same time. So we're definitely on something here. And what I want to say is that we have two projects on Harmony. One is the Metatron Marketplace, and one is the Moon Robots. So we've been lucky, and we've been granted grants for both projects because we have like a completely different development teams, and they're not really like cross correlating. But my point is that probably those money that we've been given were still like very appreciated. But I don't want to those point fingers, because I'm an entrepreneur myself. I know how extremely difficult it is to operate, and probably also running the Harmony chain in general. And but I think that some of the marketing initiative that it started now, but I think if it would be treated more as an incubator, or I have a little bit of VC angel background myself, and if it would be treated a little bit more as an incubator, and you will be given opportunity to speak with relevant people within the Harmony, address some of the questions around RPCs and for example, Bridge that was introduced, we as a marketplace never get even a chance to even look at the bridge that apparently was made, and those monkeys was moved to Harmony. So I have been given contacts and everything, but those people did not really get into the. I understand everybody is busy, but my point is that I think that as a project on Harmony, we haven't issued any statement. We're not going cross chain as of now. We're waiting for official investigation to be over. Waiting for official statement from Harmony. But what I want to say is that we probably also on very deep level, we're waiting for reassurance that if we stay on Harmony, the things will change, and we will see those changes for projects that will stay, because we have so much potential could be unlocked. Thank you.
Yeah, this gives us an opportunity to actually talk a little bit about a couple of things that we are doing right. So the quick takeaway is the RPCs. There's an RPC slowdown over the last week or two, specifically because we are testing our Elastic RPC issues, our Elastic RPC solution, and that will improve RPCs across the board. But it's kind of running through a set of tests right now, which means that we direct some traffic to this Elastic RPC. We watch it for a little bit, then we put it back to the regular ones. At the end of the day, the existing infrastructure cost to run all the RPCs that we need to run is unsupportable in any sort of long-term fund. Like, it's nearly $1 million a month to do it all. So we're watching for that. That's one thing. Number two, as far as bridges go, I want to go back. I don't want to speak directly to this, but it's implied that the trustless Ethereum bridge that is almost ready to be launched, not that, it may require a little bit of retooling, but the trustless Ethereum bridge will be a much better situation. And that my understanding is that will be the first fully trustless chain-to-chain bridge out there. And it wasn't a Freudian slip, Josep. RPC issues is what everybody is saying, and I'm working on the solutions. I know that there are issues. Sorry, just had to comment that's over in the Discord in case you guys are wondering.
So there is a trustless solution coming then, which is great news. So moving forward, there is a plan to improve the overall system, which is great.
However, I will point out, and I want to speak directly to 2007 Woot, because I see you making the same thing over and over. I do want to say that, like, earlier I talked about how we need to add to the bridge, to the existing bridge, those assets that are currently unbacked, and then we have to transition over to the new one, right? The trustless.
That's my understanding as well.
It is a process, and that plan does not exist yet because it needs to be developed. And that plan, even if it existed before, now needs to change significantly because of this situation. And so, like, it's not something that we can just come out right now and be like, oh, well, this is what we're going to do 100%, because we need to arrange for those assets. We need to arrange for whatever the deal is that gets us that. We need to arrange for the return of the funds. We need to arrange for the prosecution of it doesn't matter. And it matters a great deal all at the same time. The point is that the details right now are not known, and therefore they do not matter. The intent is to, yes, repeg all of the assets on chain by providing those assets again in that original bridge, and then facilitating the transfer over to the new one. And those trustless systems are where the chain is heading. Decentralization and trustless systems have always been a focus of Harmony that have unfortunately been overshadowed by apes and a really heavy 10,000 DAO focus and other things that we're all already aware of. So it's a known thing, but yeah. And also, the person that said Sam needs to stop laughing, absolutely no. Absolutely no. Everyone needs to remain with their sense of humor, with their personality intact through all this. Otherwise, everyone burns out and nothing ever gets fixed. Because, like, we need to be people at the end of the day, because that's what blockchain is. Blockchain is not tech. Blockchain is people that are building tech that will last a long time.
I think,
but right now the people need to be involved.
That's an absolutely critical point. So there is things being done moving forward to address some issues and make the system overall much better. And again, just to add to what Flu is saying, the people behind these projects and the people on the Harmony team are still indeed just that, people. And people are invaluable. People have to keep a sense of humor. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not expecting Harmony team members to come on here and start groveling and crying. That would be ridiculous. So it is critical that, an air of sensibility is kept. But some people here are asking, in 2007, are we asking projects whether or not they will stick around? How can they possibly comment if assets are not going to be 100% backed? Again, because it's an ongoing investigation and not all of the answers are available right now, even though we have a Harmony team member here, they cannot possibly comment as to what the future... They're not mind readers and they're not mediums. They can't tell the future. So until that investigation is complete, until we have something solid to actually comment on in that respect, we cannot speculate as to what the answer will be. All we can actually do is talk about what certain projects are looking at right now, and the general consensus for a lot of people is they're going to continue to build and develop on the Harmony or the harmonyone protocol, and they're going to continue to do what they do and continue to support the people in their communities the best that they possibly can, which is admirable. Some people have made the decision to go elsewhere, and I can't speak for any specific projects right now. All I can say is I've heard of this with some projects doing that, and that's their prerogative to do so, even if it is going to be more expensive for them. So I just wanted to add to that as well that you have Sonic Swap here, who have made a statement, and they say, good day, Sonic Swap gang. In the light of recent events revolving around the harmonyone eco, Harmony projects are now taking sides on where they stand. Our 2 cents, we haven't stopped developing, no matter how bumpy the road gets, to keep building and bearing during the bear market 2022. So that's Sonic Swap stance on the matter, and I will have a few more coming up for you in just a few minutes. Does anybody else here want to speak while I go and look at some of those?
Yeah, Bourbon here from Harmonyville, with Lambo NFT. Our plans don't change. So the community has always been in our minds first, and the project that we're working on is a much larger project than just Harmony centric. So for us to look and say that this bump in the road, although quite large, is going to change the core focus is not realistic from our standpoint. So, for anybody within our community that might be listening, and anybody who here is invested in our project specifically, we're going to keep building. We've denied grants, which haven't meant much to us to begin with. So we've been self-funded, and we continue to self-fund here. We'll look at other options in the future to continue to bridge, but the focus is delivering what we set out to deliver, and we just are looking forward to a resolution that provides a lot of user excitement, I guess, kind of re-establishing the energy that needs to be brought back from the previous days of the Harmony and what they're doing, and just looking at the GameFi space and continuing that push, and just scaling back on some other things that might not be as important right now. So that's our standpoint.
Bourbon, I just wanted to mention really quick. You guys' project should have been in the Game Shard announcement video. I didn't run the back end. I just was the person that was interviewing it. But you have beautiful work. Thank you. So I'm more than happy to make sure that you get folded into some of the future Game Shard initiative marketing things.
Yeah,
you're doing great work.
Yeah, that would be tremendous, and that's something that all we're asking for. We're not looking for the money. I think so. Talked to it earlier on what can Harmony do. That's not always financial, and just to that point there is to just to acknowledge, right? Just looking for projects who are building and building quietly and not making a big deal when things don't go their way, because at the end of the day, it doesn't change what we're doing. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
Yeah, no, and if I understand correctly, I think the assets that were posted as part of that video were they were the stuff that Adrian already had on hand, so that's why he used it. But in any case,
so does anybody here have any objection to me reading out some of the statements that other projects have put out to their groups? It may take me a few minutes to go through all of them, or does anybody have anything burning they want to say before I start speaking?
Go ahead, Darth. I want to say something. Basically, just that we're building Fishfight and some other projects that aren't announced, and maintaining the Scribbles project, and all game-related things. And so largely, it's unfortunate that this is happening, but the games will not be as impacted, because a lot of our users were targeted on like non-natives to crypto, and so largely we're not like, this has just kind of renewed our focus around building on EVM and using the different blockchains as we release to actually build up Harmony, and because ultimately it serves as the best way of building games, in my experience. And so, realistically, I do want to
I have to interrupt you for 1 second to ask Andy. Please open up invites or create an invite. I need to get someone else from Harmony team in here.
I don't have rights in this Discord. I think that's more of a Darth thing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
I'm trying to get somebody to jump in because I have to run to my next thing, but I don't want to leave you guys hanging without somebody from Harmony.
Before you run, Sam, let me just ask you, I'm just thinking here, because of obviously the ongoing investigation and things like that, we're not going to be able to get all of the answers and everything done in this one call. So in the interest of keeping things fluid, would you be open to potentially doing the same thing in a week or potentially 2 weeks?
I'm definitely open to that. The person I'm trying to get on next is actually Daniel, who I've mentioned earlier, and he kind of runs our communication guild, and so he may be the ideal person to raise that too.
I opened up links so you can invite him now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's yourself or him, somebody from Harmony, being there to represent the harmonyone protocol would be fantastic. And then obviously, I think it would be in the interest of the community at large, not only the people developing their project, but also the people that invest in these projects as well, to hear what's going on from the horse's mouth, so to speak, rather than getting it through random posts on Twitter and things like that. I think it really will actually help a lot.
Yeah, and that's the goal. For me, it's always been about the community. It's always been about the adoption. So I just want to make sure that we continue to talk to the community and talk to people who are driving the adoption, which are these games, right? Which are these projects, which are these things that are more usable than just a cryptocurrency token. So thank you for opening up, and hopefully we'll see Daniel pop in here in a few minutes.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time, Sam. Excellent job, and you dealt with some very difficult questions and statements very well there. So I applaud you for coming on into the Lion's Den. Thank you very much.
Of course. All right, you guys. Daniel Pagan is here. He's a fantastic guy. We are all working all hands on deck. So he probably doesn't have a ton of time because he's actually over there with the rest of the War Room people. But I will leave it with Daniel, and I appreciate your guys' patience for those that are being patient. I also understand how bad this sucks. So from my mouth, Sam Harrison's personal death, not Harmony. I'm sorry that this happened. All right, Daniel, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you? Yeah, exactly. Just a heads up, really quick, not to cut anyone off. And please let me know if my connection isn't great. I'm actually sitting in a conference room in the office, kind of way back. So just let me know. I can always relocate if I have to. As Sam mentioned, I don't have a ton of time. I'm actually there's a bunch of stuff on our plates, as you can imagine. On mine specifically, I am handling a lot of our comms efforts while working very closely with a few others who also assist on comms and also content. Yeah, I'm here if you guys have questions. And another thing I do want to add is, while I am aware of sort of how the investigation is going, there isn't a lot that I can share. Okay, simply because there is an ongoing investigation, and when we say we are working with multiple cybersecurity firms and national authorities, there's no exaggeration there. So there's only so much I can say there. And on the technical side,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, obviously for legal reasons you can't do that, but I was wondering if you could, in fact, maybe allude to maybe telling us, is it going well, or are there some speed bumps? I know that's a very difficult thing to answer, but can you give us any sort of nod, any sort of light at the end of the tunnel potentially?
Yeah, so whether or not, to speak to how well it is going. So the investigation started yesterday afternoon, pretty early in the afternoon, right? I think what we mentioned on the Medium post and on Twitter, we immediately started to reach out to the cybersecurity firms that we have worked with in the past. And we have some contacts with the national authorities also, who we've reached out to. They responded last night saying that they are going to assist. So that is great. Since last night, and by last night, I'm not sure where you guys are located around the world, but last night, U.S. time, I'm in PST. So from last night to this morning, we had engineers who are, I'd say there's probably about 6 last night, who ran the investigation through the night, handed that off at 8:30 a.m. PST. I was on that call during the handoff, and on that call, a lot of information was passed from hand to hand. A lot of the stuff I didn't quite understand, right? Because we're talking about some forensics information and a lot of things that like the devs kind of talk to each other about that I'm just not fully aware of. But from what I was able to gather and from the notes that I was taking and from post handoff conversations, it is going well. I know that what we're doing right now is narrowing down the various attack vectors that could have been used to take advantage of this exploit or identify the exploit. So I know that we're narrowing that down. I believe we started with a list of about 4, and we've narrowed it down to about 2. So now as part of the handoff, the communication was basically, look, we've already knocked these 2 out as in, you don't have to look at them. Let's narrow our investigation down to these 2 attack vectors. We have logs. We have a lot of data from different layers in the stack, right? Because there's a lot of different places where this could source from, and we're talking from the OS level to the application level to access level. There's a bunch of different ways. So we have all that data. I know they're reviewing it. On top of that, I can't go into specifics about efforts to identify a culprit. Obviously, we are working to identify the culprit, and the security firms that we are working with have already yesterday rather quickly mapped out the transactions that have occurred from what address to what address, provided us with that kind of like a topology map almost, or like a data flow map, which is going to help us and the national authorities with the investigation as well. So those efforts are still underway. The team is about 10 engineers working on this 24/7, with no intention to stop until we have all the information that we need to, again, identify the culprit, identify the attack vector, and make sure that we have enough information that we can continue helping the authorities, push this even further. So I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that answers your question. Feel free to.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
So there's a question being asked that I think is interesting, and I think it would address a lot of the things that people have asked before. One thing that people are asking for, and I know you cannot promise this or not promise this. Maybe you could promise that it will be brought up to the sea levels, but maybe looking into a promise of guaranteeing the backing of the assets going forward in some way, like that the Harmony team is committed to making sure that peg is restored or whatever. That's something that people have been asking for a lot in the chat, and I know it's a difficult thing to do, but it's something that has been brought up repeatedly, and that's like a big concern, because like if we can't have those off-chain assets be a safe haven, then that's like a severe
Guys,
issue.
can we be careful with... Sorry, Flo, can we be... Duff, can you mute people that...
Just kick.
Yeah, or kick, yeah.
Yeah, it's faster. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, Daniel, could you speak to that, or even just speak to the assurances that will be brought up before the C levels? Because the C-suite is something that I have access to, and I try to use very sparingly. I usually try to filter that sort of stuff through you because you're a lot kinder than I am. So yeah.
Thanks, Blue. That's definitely above my pay grade. But I do have both our COO and our founder and COO in the office today, and that's a discussion. I know that's a discussion that has started. I know that we are in direct contact with a handful of our partners, including Aave, who have started that conversation as well. So while I can't really provide a lot of information because I'm not totally up to speed on that side of things, I can say that that's a conversation that's already happening. And I can definitely follow up to just make sure that conversation continues to happen, and that we get back to everyone with some answers there. With what is our plan? What are we doing there? What assurances can we make? So one thing that we most certainly want to focus on, and there's some how should I put this? There's let me take a step back.
It's fine. What I would say, and I don't want to cut you off. I know that you do have to go. What I would say as the voice of sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, is one of our primary focuses is communication, right? That's going to be part of it. There's a lot of different things that we need to communicate, and we're aware of that. It's not just about the hack. It's not just about the culprit and all that. It's also about a lot of other things that affect everyone in this chat, outside this chat. And we also need to make sure that we are doing that in a manner that projects, leadership and confidence in the work that we're doing, right? So we are going to be, on the communication side at least, we're going to make sure that we are on top of, and we can't provide updates every 15 minutes, of course, right? But we're going to make sure that we are on top of our communications, from Twitter to the live Medium post that we're going to continue to update. And we also plan to release some content featuring C-level leaders that speaks to some of these items as well.
So, sorry to interject, Daniel. I mean, we're all very grateful that Harmony's taken the time to come on here and speak to us and let us know how the investigation is going, amongst other things. But I think one thing that is really going to set a lot of people's minds at ease is there a plan in place currently to address the liquidity issues and what is being done to attempt to repeg the assets right now? Because it'll be great, obviously, if we're able to recover those assets and, the authorities do their job and, things work out for the best. But in the instance that they don't, people are still going to want to know what the plan is moving forward, and how that's going to affect the entire project, the entire harmonyone ecosystem in general. So, what do you have to say to that?
We're talking about the same thing right now. Like that's the same question that we've been asking. However, I would just say, and this is probably from the chat, is like, if as has happened in the past, I'm not going to bring up explicit examples, but Harmony has a habit of, whenever they respond to things in terms of communication, they respond to things with rose-colored glasses on in terms of like the communication. And I think in this time, if we do not address the root issue of the DPEG, it would have been better to release no statement whatsoever, I think, in a lot of people's opinions. And maybe I could get like some F's in the chat or some whatever, as far as like y'all's opinion on that, if you agree with me on that or not. That way we can get like a quick vote. I think that if we make any sort of statement going forward, it needs to include assurances, promises, like anything to restore trust would be like really, really critical at this juncture.
Got it. Understood. Yeah. And I'm not going to. Last thing that I want to say really quick is that I certainly don't want to sugarcoat anything. it might come across that way. I'm just trying to be careful with what I'm saying, only because I don't have all of the answers and I don't want to pretend like I do. But what I can say specifically to that topic is that that is a conversation that is happening, and it's something that we absolutely need to address, and we will address, and we're going to communicate that. So I'm sorry I don't have that answer for you guys right now. I do have to jump off. There's a lot of things happening here, as you can imagine. Yeah, so I'm going to jump off unless there's another question that I can possibly answer.
I do have a question. I'm Rob with Hermes DeFi. I've already kind of asked it, but I haven't really gotten an answer on it so far. In the interim, with some projects having had all their funds in one USDC, what is Harmony going to do to support those projects to make sure they can continue developing?
I am documenting that question. I think it's a very good question. It's not an answer that I have, but it's a question that I can certainly make sure gets answered for you.
What's happening with Harmony grants in the future? Is it still going to be available, or?
Let's chill on that one. Like that's not even a focus. Like, cause we gotta get to a point where like the chain is like solvent, and then we can worry about grants afterwards. However, I will say that Sam did kind of answer this earlier whenever he was talking about focusing on the future and like future efforts for the GameFi chain for everything. Like there's a lot that's already been said about that. I would say there's going to be funding in the future, but like I don't really care about funding at this point, even as a project. And remember, I'm in several on Harmony, and I was in several on Harmony before I ever started working for Harmony. Like I don't give a shit about grants.
Just to interject there. Sorry, I do apologise, Flu. I don't mean to be rude.
No,
but
it's fine. I go off.
There is quite a lot of projects in here that do give a shit about the grants, and some of them do require those grants to survive. So just in the interest of playing devil's advocate, that I am aware that Sam has already essentially answered that, but. Again, there is a lot of people that do want to know about that, but at the same time, I think Daniel needs to run now. So unless there is any other questions that are burning from anybody that don't involve grants or ongoing investigation, let me know. Otherwise, Daniel, thank you very, very much for your time and coming on here and answering.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And I do apologize for not having a ton of answers. It's the investigation has been. It's only 24 hours pretty much since we have started. So our main focus right now is the investigation. There's great questions here about grants and what to do with projects who hold their assets in one USDC, especially about the backed assets. We definitely need to address that. So these are good questions. These conversations are happening. Our focus is on the investigation, but at the same time, we do know that other questions and other issues surrounding this certainly very important for us to address. So that said, I'm going to hop off.
I have a quick question for you. Sorry. So I did ask Sam this, but he said that you're probably the best guy. So in the interest of keeping the information flowing for people, can we potentially commit to a similar sort of discussion like this, maybe in a week, so that we can recap on how things are going?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure Flu can get in contact with the relevant people so we can organise a time so we can be a bit better organised next time. Is that right?
Remember, Andy, I already have a server for this. So if anyone's not and also you can dip, buddy. But no, I already have a server for this that's like got Harmony core team in it. That's got a bunch of these same people in it. If anyone does not have an invite to it, I'll post it in the general chat. Please go ahead and join. But yeah, let's merge those two and let's make your Twitch channel a serious part of it. Let's get you guys let's get you as a host and let's start doing this.
I really appreciate that, dude. I wasn't aware that you already had something set up. I mean, if it's already something in place, definitely use that. And for the record, my Twitch, I don't actually use it. I only use it today because YouTube was playing up and didn't want to work.
You're about to.
Well, yeah, indeed. I'm about to become a Twitch streamer. Maybe I should start twerking and wearing bunny ears.
I would watch. I would sub. I would do like premium sub for sure.
Okay, guys, thank you. I'm gonna hop off.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for coming.
Daniel.
Bye, Daniel.
Thank you.
So, unless people want me to go through a lot of the other statements that other projects have read, which I can do, I've got them in front of me, or in the interest of agreeing, that we've pretty much exhausted everything that we can talk about realistically, or at least I think so. Maybe closing this out, unless somebody has something they want to say.
I have a thing for Towlette. Is there value to a chain without devs and compelling projects? I'm counting the amount of projects that are in here right now. There's quite a few projects that are here and that have said that they're still building. I don't think that anyone in here at all, other than like one or two projects that have announced it, are completely abandoning Harmony. It's a very, very limited thing. I think that the moment that you start to talk about completely abandoning Harmony, you're not just abandoning the chain, you're abandoning the people on it and the people that are choosing to stay. And like, as myself, like if Granary is never profitable on Harmony, I don't give a fuck, because like if one person is using it, I'm good. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of people in here that even if they did cross chain, that they would still support people in Harmony. And I would like to go through and I would like to offer every single project that's in here to make a statement on that. Even if Harmony's TVL drops significantly, like let's just assume that everything will repeg, because like they're not going to let it not repeg. Let's be real, right? Their reputations, all of this, they'd be a fucking laughing stock forever if this turned the way of Luna 1.0, right? But can we get some statements from projects? Are you going to stay on Harmony even if you expand? Are you going to support Harmony even if there's like limited population?
I would go one further, Flu, and say like this may just be a good opportunity for like projects to use the EVM compatibility and bring in, like, there's a reason that like Harmony makes sense for so many projects, because it's so damn affordable and it works really well. Like the idea of like bridging outward is just about users. And one of the things I think we could do with this sort of emergency and catastrophe is bridge out and bring people back, because like ultimately the technicals are the same. Like it was just really bad decision making that led to this particular problem that can be repaired, but like all the tech is the same, all the fundamentals and like shit that they make us do a 5 out of 9 for a reason. Like there's a good reason for how these things work, and it does seem like this could be an opportunity for people to just broaden their horizons sooner than they may have otherwise, and remember that like things work really well here. Yes, we're not going anywhere.
So, I mean, I just want to add to that. There's somebody in the chat here, 2007 Woot, who's made quite a few comments, quite a few hardline comments. You know, the guy's an extremist in the channel, so I mean, I respect the difficult questions. But he has been saying a few things. Now, there's a lot of projects on the harmonyone network that are, I mean, as you can see from the turnout, like we literally pulled this together within minutes. Everybody showed up to discuss a really big burning topic. How many people on how many blockchains do you know would have pulled together like this to discuss a major hack or a major issue with their chain so quickly, and even actually get developers and people to speak from the chain itself? So I just want to applaud all of you for coming together so quickly to discuss this. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and do this. We've been on for nearly 3 hours, an hour and 44 minutes basically. But the fact that you all came together for this to say your piece and do what you've got to do is really appreciated from all of us. And Flu, obviously, absolute diamond for speaking for us as well, because I would have been blind on some of this stuff. But also as well for bringing in the harmonyone guys as well, so much appreciated. But just to readdress 2007 again, in terms of people asking for grants, you were quite harsh on that one. I think it's critical to understand that those grants are available for projects, and they have every right to ask for them. They have been frozen at this point, and they're not wrong for asking for them because it allows them to do things that they maybe weren't able to do before, that they can really open up to doing in the future without having to ask people to inject more money. You know, the users, you people that are actually paying attention. So, you know, it's not a bad thing. So that's my take on that. So, you know, before we do close out and say our goodbyes, does anybody else have anything else to say?
Yeah, I'm Pioneer again with MTOP Swap. I just want to clarify, you know, we look at ourselves as the custodians of our user base's investment. And so, you know, we were able to successfully and very quickly get our 5 of 9 signed twice, actually. And we were able to actually we made money on our cross-chain experience, but more so we preserved the treasury in that. With that being said, although the treasury has been moved off-chain, you know, we don't want to move off-chain. You know, we support the Harmony blockchain. We really hope to see a repay. We really hope to see some sort of deal made with this hacker and the funds restored. But yeah, I think with time, you know, we'll hear some good word from the Harmony team. It looks like everyone's trying a little harder than usual, and I hope we can keep up the momentum. And yeah, I appreciate all of your time.
Absolutely outstanding turnout, guys. And, you know, we will be doing this again soon. Bear in mind, we haven't obviously got a date and time in mind here, but I will discuss it with a few of the guys here, including Flu, as to when we will do that. So obviously we can keep everybody updated. Go ahead and follow me on Twitch. As well. You can check out some of my other social medias. They're dotted around everywhere. I'm not going to blow my own trumpet right now. But, you know, thank you very, very much for all of you guys coming out from your respective projects, to discuss these difficult topics and for speaking your part. And thanks for everybody else tuning in and listening to this.
Was this recorded? Thanks, everyone.
It wasn't recorded. It wasn't recorded directly by me, but Twitch should have recorded it, so I can download it and then do my thing with that. So if they haven't, then I'm going to write a very strongly worded letter to them.
Cool. I will plug that on YouTube. I would ask everyone that is in the audience to please commit yourselves to like retweeting this. Let's get awareness about this, and let's get awareness about the fact that if you did not turn on previous broadcasts in the settings, you need to do that before we end the stream. Crypto.
I will take a look.
Thanks everyone for attending. I didn't think my little idea of a Harmony get together would lead to this big meeting. Thanks everyone for attending and speaking.
Also, 2007 has a really good point. Projects on Harmony need to be putting pressure on the Harmony team. Blindly committing their allegiance to the chain without guaranteeing a repeg is not okay. I agree, and I would say that the only way that all of these projects are going to maintain this positive attitude is if Harmony maintains a positive attitude. I can't speak for everyone, but I would say that I have a stake in a lot of the projects on Harmony, in terms of like being an advisor for them or being whatever. And I can tell you that if Harmony does not guarantee a repeg, I'm fucking out. So I think that there would be a large amount of motion behind that. So I would say if Harmony does not guarantee a repeg, you can find me on Phantom, Avalanche, Fendora, motherfucking Luna 2. I don't even care. At least they don't have a fucking stable coin anymore. Like, I'll be everywhere. I'll be in Web3. But we gotta deal with the critical thing first. So I
think we're all looking forward to getting pegged.
If we don't end on that, I quit.
Pause. Right.
Ooh.
Can I get a oh yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I want to echo the pegging. I know that's a great point to end on, but I do think that it's good to remember that people prefer like talking about bad news and kind of echoing what Flu was saying about getting the word out. Like when we repeg, things will be fine. Like, and somehow or another, it's going to happen. So don't feel worried. Share, talk about what's going on, promote a project, like do something crazy. I mean, I don't want to talk about pegging some more, but that's something crazy.
Okay, so Mask and Zenifax are both saying the same thing, talking about how repeg. And I've covered this extensively in the past, but I understand that not everyone is there. I would say that we have to add funds from Ethereum, the native assets, into the bridge again, and then instantly those funds have the backing, okay? And so the way that is done is either by recovery or by investment / funds being put into this, right? And so you don't add funds to a bridge and then expect no return. And as a matter of fact, Pumpkin, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Can you explain this in a more technical way, or is that your forte? Can you kind of explain what it means to be like a bridged asset, please?
I can try, but our dev Atlas is do a much better job than me. I'm kind of the friendly face and he's the brain. But our bridge works differently to most others in that it's mint and burn. So on one side you burn your tokens, which is paper, and then on the other side it's minted. So we don't actually have to hold liquidity, which means that we aren't vulnerable to these kinds of exploits, and we don't have to have those huge liquidity pools on either side.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I could jump in there. This is Atlas.
Yeah.
We actually created this bridge because of some previous hacks, like the wormhole and all of that, where liquidity was drained, and that's kind of what happened here. So that's why we went a different way. So we actually don't hold assets. But to speak to your point, how to repeg, really the point is right. You need to re-back those assets, which then builds up the confidence again. So, and I would even say, even if it wasn't a direct one-to-one backing, but they made progress towards that backing, that would then tend to repeg based on that confidence. So by having that one-to-one backing, what you're really saying is the market has confidence that those funds are there, therefore the price is what the price should be.
Right, and those are taken care of with arbitrage opportunities. So the question that's being raised in the chat is, what about the people that bought USDC for 20 cents? Well, that's a great fucking deal. You just got a 5x if it repegs. But you could also have like a negative 100%, you know? So like it's a thing of trust. It's a thing of gambling, honestly, at this point. It's the same as buying any fucking shitcoin. Like, right? Except for this one has like a guarantee or whatever, depending on your level of trust. Am I buying USDC right now on chain? No, because I have not heard Harmony's plan. Am I buying ETH on chain right now? No, because I have not heard Harmony's plan. And I would say that I'm not going to make any decisions like that until I hear Harmony's plan. If it's trash, I fucking promise you, I will make that statement publicly, and I will say it is trash. If it is good, I will make that statement publicly, and I will say this is good, and I will be buying the shit out of some USDC. I bridged out yesterday. I tried to protect users' funds first whenever dealing with Granary and all the multi-sig transactions that took, and then I protected my own assets afterwards. And that's how it went, right? So like I would expect everybody in this room to react accordingly if the plan was good, if the plan was solid, if the plan created a sense of security in our minds. We should all make that fucking money, right? Because that would open up a huge arbitrage opportunity. Okay, so 2007, that's not a helpful statement, right? Unless people are willing to boycott Harmony. Yeah. If the assets are not going to be backed, and I've already said this, I'm getting the fuck out, and everyone should probably keep up.
It's also worth saying, essentially letting the team off. We have to remember here as well that it is just okay. There was an exploit that could have been better taken care of, and it was overlooked, and could have been, dealt with better. And but at the end of the day, it wasn't, and it's happened. But you can't lay all the blame on every single person at the harmonyone network. They are doing their best to try and recover those assets, and they're doing everything they can to ensure the survival of not only harmonyone, but also the entire lot of projects and dApps that are being developed on the harmonyone ecosystem. So I don't think it's very fair to say that we're letting them off. We should be working with them and understanding and being helpful rather than destructive.
I'm sorry, I'm pasting all of my addresses.
I hope they're secure.
I will say I don't have to worry about the same issues.
Brilliant.
I've been in this space since 2012. I got into it whenever there was no way to really make money in this shit. It was just a thing of like, oh, I like crypto because I hate banks, and that's how I got into it back in the day. That's still what I'm in it for today, is to create a better and more transparent monetary system. Foul general, I think that if you don't know my history, I would advise just ask around, man. If you're not sure if I'm legit, but I've shown over time to be very much a champion of the people. I do not want to, like, I don't know. I don't want to mislead people, bro. And whenever I'm saying that, like, if the Harmony team's plan sucks, that I'm out, I mean that. Like, I'm not going to stick around something that is doomed to failure. That's not a profitable move on my part, and that's also not good reputational risk on my part. I stand more to gain in, like, reputation by saying fuck you guys if they fuck up again, and if they're not willing to take the steps necessary. So, like, just from a game theory perspective, I'm not going to sacrifice my fucking reputation in the space whenever I'm building a multi-chain product for this one chain that is an issue. Like, it's not going to happen. 2007 Whoop, my Twitter is in the chat. It's Final Fantasy. Also, fall and 2007, because y'all are not aware, I used to work on DFK. I split with DFK after I became hypercritical of their decision to create Crystal, as I thought that it would devalue initial Harmony investors for Jewel. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I should shut the fuck up. Any other projects? Randar's got a really good point. I'm really boring. Let's get some other people up here.
You're absolutely not boring at all. I'm quite happy to. I'm quite happy to host on wherever you get me the followers and the subscribers. I'm cool with that. It means I have to do that.
Yeah, it's so uncool.
So yeah, I mean, as Flu said, just echoing what he said, I'm the less cool version of Flu. Basically, does anybody here have anything else that they want to say? Any more questions from Twitch, in fact, or from the projects themselves? Does anybody have anything else to say?
I just don't lose. I think I interrupt you every single time.
No, it's
fine. I want to say thank you for organising this. It's been, I think, really good to hear what everyone is doing, what the approach is, as much information we can get from the channel, from Harmony, and I think as well to see how we can all support each other moving forward in this. Like, I presume if everyone kind of bands together, there could be some kind of positive outcome, even if it is moving off chain. So, yeah, thank you, and glad to be part of it.
Here, completely echo that, Pumpkin. Thanks very much.
Just don't lose faith in the community unless there's a solid reason to. Just stay around until the Harmony team confirms everything. Don't lose hope.
Absolutely. I think the general consensus is most people are going to be sticking to it, pending outcome, of course, and continuing business as normal, or as normal as it can possibly be. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following me on Twitch, and of course, Flu as well for and everybody else. In fact, everybody's going to be talking. Yeah, everybody's going to be talking about it. Check out all of these amazing projects. I can't list them all off. It would be unfair of me to circle out just a few of them, and it would take me about a week to list all of them.
Someone should make the list.
Yeah, I think we should. Can somebody maybe grab a screen or something and just kind of attach the names of the projects so that we can? Because when I edit this and put it on YouTube later, I can then put a list of all the projects that were involved in the discussion as well. And of course, it would really help me massively as well if all of the projects could help me out as well, because it will go on my YouTube later on as well. Shilly shill.
Put it in the projects channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks very much, everybody. Are we happy for me to close this out?
Yes, sir. Thank you for organizing this roundtable today.
Thank you for making this, man. That was really cool.
Yeah. It was very easy.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody that tuned in as well. I know a lot of you don't know who I am. I'm Crypto Lamb. Thanks very much for coming on and asking some great questions. And I think we did some good today, and we're going to do it again. And we're going to update everybody on what is happening next as soon as we know. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you.